31st chapter of Jeremiah. This is the institution of the new covenant. So this is where this idea first shows up. So it's a very powerful, important passage in Hebrew Scripture. The days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will plant the kingdom of Israel and Judah with the offspring of people and of animals. Just as I watched over them to uproot and tear down, and to overthrow, destroy, and bring disaster, so I will watch over them to build, plant, declares the Lord. In those days people will no longer say, the parents have eaten sour grapes, and the children's teeth are set on edge. Instead, everyone will die for their own sins. Whoever eats sour grapes, their own teeth will be set on edge. The days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the people of Israel and with the people of Judah. It will not be like the covenant I made with their ancestors when I took them by the hand to lead them out of Egypt, because they broke my covenant. God was a husband to them, declares the Lord. This is the covenant I will make with the people of Israel. After that time, declares the Lord, I will put my law in their minds and write it on their hearts. I will be their God, and they will be my people. May God bless the hearing and reading of His holy word. I invite you to turn with me to 2 Timothy. 2 Timothy chapter 2. I really love that Jeremiah passage, and we need to come back and talk about that, because he actually is paralleling the beginning of the book in many ways, though there are many chapters after that. Chapter 31 is the climax of the book of Jeremiah. So sometime we'll talk about that, because it's a very powerful and important text. But I want to continue my series here on 2 Timothy. So look at 2 Timothy, verses 14 through 26. Listen to the word of God. Remind them of this, and warn them before God that they are its children. Do your best to present yourself to God as one approved by Him, a worker who has no need to be ashamed, rightly explaining the word of truth. Avoid profane chatter, for it will lead people into more and more impiety, and their talk will spread like gangrene. Among them are Aeneas and Philetus, who have swerved from the truth by claiming that the resurrection has already taken place. They are upsetting the faith of some. But God's firm foundation stands, bearing this inscription: the Lord knows those who are His, and let everyone who calls on the name of the Lord turn away from wickedness. In a large house there are many utensils, not only of gold and silver, but also of wood and clay, some for special use, some for ordinary. All who cleanse themselves of the things that I have mentioned will become special utensils, dedicated and useful to the owner of the house, ready for every good work. Shun youthful passions and pursue righteous faith, love, and peace, along with those who call on the Lord with a pure heart. Have nothing to do with stupid and senseless controversies. You know that they breed quarrels. And the Lord's servant must not be quarrelsome, but kindly to everyone, an apt teacher, patient, correcting opponents with gentleness. God may perhaps grant that they will repent and come to know the truth, that they may escape from the snares of the devil, having been held captive by him to do his will. May God bless the hearing and reading of His holy word. Let us pray. Lord, open up our eyes and our hearts that through your word starring Kevin Bacon in it, Kiefer Sutherland, Julia Roberts. And it's a science fiction thriller. And there are medical students. I guess there's Oliver Platt is in it as well, one of the Baldwins, all right? And they played these young medical interns, doctors, I'm not sure where they're at, residents, where they're at in their study. But they start experimenting with after-life experiences. In other words, they kill each other. They kill each other on an operating table they've set up, and then they bring them back to life. And what happens is why the one, Keith, I think it was Kiefer Sutherland, wanted to experiment with this, and he had this horrific vision of a childhood friend. And then subsequently, different ones have different visions. Kevin Bacon has this vision of a girl they used to pick on, he bullied, on the school bus. And after they have this initial after-death, after-life experience, they're haunted by these visions. So the one young man is getting beaten up by this kid. Another person is haunted by a former love affair. Kevin Bacon keeps being haunted by this girl from his grade school. She'll show up like he's on a bus and he'll have a hallucination of her. She wakes him up from his sleep. So finally he goes and finds her as an adult. There's a fairly poignant scene where she has a daughter who's about the same age as she was when Kevin Bacon's character taunted her. And he says, I want you to know I'm sorry for what I did. And the actress is so good because she's staying calm, but you can see in her face the memory of being made fun of. And she forgives him. And the hallucinations stop. Isn't that a powerful image of both what scars do to us? Things maybe a teacher said, a coach, maybe someone who should have been better to you, whose job was to be better to you, but they weren't able to do it. Most of us are haunted by things that were said to us. But if we're honest with ourselves, there are people out there who are haunted by things we said to them. Or maybe things that we should have said, but we never did. Paul is giving Timothy a bunch of advice here. It's like a man who knows maybe his time is limited. You know, he's in prison in Rome. And so it's almost like a stream of conscience, telling everything you want to tell somebody in a short amount of time. It's weird. I'm not believing premonitions, but years ago I had to go to Europe or something. I don't remember even what the script was. It may have been, I don't remember. But it was funny. I woke up, I had a dream that my plane crashed. So I started writing. Now, I don't know, if I believed premonitions, I would cancel the flight, but I didn't. But because I wasn't totally sure, I started writing notes to each of my sons. And maybe one of the best things I realized as a parent, and I was a flawed parent, as all of us are. But as I started writing things down, I realized everything I was writing down, I'd already said to them. I didn't have anything I needed to say to them that I had said to them. Okay? Now, again, if you're wondering what happened, the plane did not crash. Right? I'm here, right? But there are things that we should have said that we didn't say. But there are things also that should never be said. And Paul is kind of rambling here a little bit, but a lot of it is about words, right? There's a stream through this whole passage. conference call, and we argued over a preposition. We were supposed to come up with a statement, and we argued over a preposition for 45 minutes. Fortunately, the chair of the commission, she was a wise person. She says, we're not going to do that again. So we got together. Okay? And even when we got together, there was all this argument. There was kind of this argument because it was a very divided issue. But one of the things we found was we finally started eating together. And we decided we're not going to, we had meals together and we did some recreational things together. And it wasn't until we established a relationship that we stopped wrangling over words. We were able to come up with a statement that was useful. What Paul says to do is to rightly explore the words of truth. Okay. There are words that are wordsmithing that will only ever divide us, right? Probably one of the greatest things we can figure out with each other is, you know what? We just don't need to have that discussion, right? There are certain subjects we will not bring up or do not need to bring up. I think to be a good family member, to be a good partner, to be a good parent, to be a good son and daughter, you spend a lot of time biting off your lower lip, right? Or biting your tongue. Hold that, right? But there's something good about that. But there's also a time to speak the right words. And Paul's saying, rightly explain the words of truth. There are words in our faith that really matter. And we can share them with each other. And then he says, avoid profane chatter. Okay? And I love this. And it'll spread like gangrene. Okay? Remember, there was no penicillin in the time of Paul, right? So gangrene means you most likely die, right? Now, when you think of profane chatter, I mean, the first thing probably comes to your mind is coarse jokes or foul language, okay? But the Bible talks a lot about maybe the most dangerous profane chatter, and that is gossip, which is a problem in every human organization. I was in one church where if we wanted to get information out informally, we just told one person. It was quicker than the internet, I swear. We could get all that out. All right, now that's kind of fun, but we've all been victims of what gossip can do. I remember I learned this from a couple wise pastors who I was able to work with in various functions, and one of them said to me, if you're in a new church and someone comes to you and speaks ill of your predecessor, most likely in a few months they're going to be saying things about you as well. Okay. Actually, I found that to be true. And another person said, be careful about, in the name of information, that you don't fall into gossip. And I remember starting at a church, I was a young pastor, and someone came into my office, and someone who should have known better, and said, would you like to know about the different people in our congregation? And I remember this wisdom from that person. I go, no, I don't. You don't need to. Let me discover things for myself. That would have been unhelpful talk, right? To me, and this is not original to me, but how do you determine what's the difference between gossip and helpful talk? Okay. Well, if sharing what the person is sharing is part of the solution, then that can be helpful talk. All right. For instance, I can't help people that I don't know it's happening. Right. I can't help you if I don't know what's going on in your life. So sharing that is a good thing. So if it's redemptive, if it's part of the solution, it's not gossip, it's not profane chatter. And instead of sharing things that aren't helpful, Paul says, let everyone who calls on the name call on the name of the Lord. In other words, are there things that we say that really lifts up the name of Christ? In that same church, a bit of helpful advice. It was all the same week. It was the first week I was there, and all these people were coming to see me. And I remember after this man who left, who wanted to give me gossip on the congregation, a wise woman came in and she said, "Bill, I'm going to tell you something. Everything they told you about this church," I go, "Yeah." She goes, "It's worse." And she's actually right about that. But she wasn't saying it because she wanted to be mean. She said, okay. And then she said, and I'll help you if you want me to make things better. And she was a great worker. So, to say things that lift up the Lord are things that lift up other people, right? The kind of language that Paul is saying here, try to lift your talk. Don't get drugged down into the mud, okay? We have an opportunity as Christians to change our talk. Okay? We have an opportunity, like Miss Nee, my third grade teacher, to give people new senses of identity. Okay? I mean, it's a powerful thing when a little sister shares that her big sister told her that she loved her. That matters. It's a beautiful thing. You're doing something right. Those kids, it's a beautiful thing. We have an opportunity every time we're together to give each other little gifts that can make a difference. It's interesting. Paul throws out a bunch of virtues here. He calls us to live righteousness, to live a righteous life, to share faith, love, peace. He's trying to help Timothy. He says, don't be quarrelsome, but be kindly to everyone as an apt teacher. Be patient, correcting opponents with gentleness. Okay. Now, good luck with correcting opponents, right? That's a hard thing to do, right? No one wants to be corrected. But it's important to understand that if we really care, we do get involved in people's lives. I remember a friend of mine coming to me one time years ago and said, Bill, you're really wrong about this. And, I was taken aback. I said, what were you? But I knew that he loved me, right? I knew that he cared about me. And so it's something I really probably remembered it because it was over 20-some years ago. There was something that began to make me look at some things in my life that maybe I wasn't looking at. I mean, we all start from this privileged position thinking that we're right. I had someone tell me one time, it was after a church meeting, I think, and he said, Bill, you always think you're right. I go, well, I wouldn't say it if I didn't think it was right, all right? You don't pay me to come up here and say, hey, let's do this because it's a bad idea, right? Right? So we don't go around thinking, okay, I'm going to hold on to this very harmful, false idea. That's not how we think, right? We generally believe that we're right. The danger is we tend to listen to things that reaffirm, our own opinions and positions, and that's part of the trouble we have in our current country. It's part of the problem we have, in our denomination as well. We tend to gravitate to people who agree with us, and then we tend to denigrate or ostracize or make other those who disagree with us. And part of the good thing about being a family of faith is there is an opportunity for us to care enough about each other to share the heart word sometimes. My one son was talking about one of my other sons, which actually happens all the time, all right? And it's an interesting role to be an adult parent, those of you who are doing it. You're kind of more like, I don't know, when they were younger, I was more like a staff sergeant. Okay, now I'm kind of like a referee, all right, with no power. Right? Interesting. But one of my sons was probably justifiably upset with one of the other ones. I listened and I said to him, he said, what do you think I should do? I said, I think you should be merciful. And what's interesting, he had, the day before, had thanked me for showing him mercy. Alright, so there's a sense where those words of, I don't even know if they're correction, but sometimes telling somebody something they may not want to hear is an act of love. There's a new movie coming out. There's a movie based on Mr. Rogers. You've seen the advertisement. Tom Hanks is Mr. Rogers. And I have to admit, Mr. Rogers was my sister, my younger sister. watching Mr. Rogers. And, you know, as a 10-year-old boy, there was hardly anything attractive about Mr. Rogers for a 10-year-old boy, right? It was just, and it was only on TV, so it was just, you know, why are we watching this, or why are you watching this? And matter of fact, I actually, as a youth director, we did a skit where I played Mr. Rogers, and so I had great fun making fun of him. But one of the things that is interesting to me about the movie is, in the advertisement, it says a movie for our time. Okay, and I think they may absolutely be right, because he was a remarkable person. And here's one of his quotes that I think is worth sharing. Imagine what our real neighbors would be like if each of us offered, as a matter of course, just one kind word to another person. There have been so many stories about the lack of courtesy, the impatience of today's world, road rage, and even restaurant rage. Sometimes all it takes is one kind word to nourish another person. Think of the ripple effect that can be created when we nourish someone. One kind empathetic word has a wonderful way of turning into many. If you stop and think about the life of Jesus, how many people's lives were changed by one word or a couple words? Yeah, I know you're a foul-mouthed fisherman. Come follow me. I know you made a huge mistake, but neither do I condemn you. Don't sin no more. Friend, your sins are forgiven. Woman, she who has loved much has been forgiven much. She who forgives has been forgiven much, loves much. Thomas, here are my hands. Here are my son. Peter, once again, you love me, you love me, you love me. Come follow me. Let's try this again. Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me? Some of those words were not the gentlest of words, right? Some of them happened in horrendous times, but they were words that were based on love, and they were words that changed the course of not only those people's lives, but it's changed the course of all of history. And so, maybe the most powerful thing God has given us in this world is the opportunity to share His Word with each other. And I'm not just talking about Bible. The Bible is important, essential. But a word of patience, a word of gentleness, a word of love, a word of mercy, a word of forbearance, a word of, I know we don't agree here, but you're my brother, you're my sister. It's okay. It's going to be okay. God loves you. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.